Hey guys, today for math, we are going to start using protractors to measure angles. And I know this is a little different than what I'd originally envisioned us doing. If you have one at home, you're welcome to use it and practice and things like that. In this case, we're gonna have to kind of do it using the computer, but we'll make do. So our first I gave you a protractor right here, and it's giving us an angle. And what it's showing is I wanted to show you how to make sure that we line up our protractor. And what we do is we always line it up to where the meeting point of both of our rays is right here in the middle. And if you notice, this bottom ray is lined up with this 0. Because we know an angle is measuring the arc or the area in between the two. So and then it reminds us we have to use the inside measurement because this is where the 0 is. So if the 0 is on this bottom line here, we have to use this number on the bottom line. And remember, we talk a lot about, does it make sense? Well, if I were to use this 130 degrees, well, we know a 130 degree angle, like we talked about before we left, is a really big angle. So that answer wouldn't make sense anyways. So if my 0 is on the inside, we want to make sure that we use the number here. So we would say that the number is on 50, which means that this angle is 50 degrees. Okay. Now, here's another example, but where they took the angle and they flipped it, because just because an angle moves doesn't mean it changes the number of degrees of its measurement. So here again, they placed it with where the rays meet right here in the middle. They lined up this line of the angle at 0, but look, the 0 is in the top row here. So again, we have to go to the 50, which is in the top row. So both of these angles, this one and the one we did before, were both 50 degrees. They were just flipped, okay? Alrighty, so let's look at another example. Again, they lined it up with the line at 0, and they come right here. So we're using this bottom number. So our protractor would be, our angle on our protractor would be measuring 40 degrees, okay? Now, this is where things can get a little tricky. If you notice this angle, they didn't line it up at 0. So I can't use this bottom number. Guys, this is like a kind of like a number line. We're having to look at the difference. If it starts at 20 and it goes to 50, and we can even kind of count. Well, this right here is 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, okay? Or I could say 20 plus what would get me to 50. At the same time, I could say 50 minus 20, which would give us 30 degrees. Okay, so let's look at this. It says it wants us to arrange the angle measurements from least to greatest. So remember, least is going to be the smallest angles. So let's look at all of these. We're looking at these arcs. So how far this is. Now this angle right here, it's showing that it is, we're using the outside 0, that it's 30 degrees. Well, we can just look at these and see that A is going to be our smallest angle, okay? Now let's look and see what would come next. We know this right here, D is a right angle. We know B and C are bigger than that, right? So we know that D, oh, and it said we're right, is going to be next. Now, if we know this is a 90-degree angle, well, let's look at this. We know this, here's our 0, it's on the inside. This is 110 degrees. Well, this one down here, if we look at C, we know half of a circle, that's 180. So we're going to have to flip-flop this C and B, aren't we? Good. Okay. So let's look at some other examples of measuring degrees. So right here, and guys, we can use top or bottom here. They start at 50 and it goes to 90. So we can say this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 40 degrees. Okay. And guys, if you need any more help with this before you go on to your MobyMax assignment, please pop into our math sessions today.